I finally got to play with the Infinity Black Diamond, the newest member of the SixZero family. It is the highest spinning paddle the SixZero has come out to date, but it's edgeless. Now this paddle retails for $220 with our pirate code. You can get that down to $200, but because of the extra cost of the manufacturing of this paddle is $40 more. But is it worth it? Stay tuned to find out.
Well, first off, I wanted to see how this compares, and right off the bat, I could tell that this has more spin than the double black diamond. And the power felt pretty similar, like they felt really close.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the specs of the paddle. Then we're going to just go right into the performance of it. I'll use all the stats that are provided by other YouTubers that actually do the scientific measurements. I usually play by feel, and I played these paddles next to each other. I agree with all of their numbers, and we'll talk a little bit about the numbers and why they matter. First time picking up this paddle, you can tell it's head light. That would indicate the same thing as you look at the swing weight of this is only 106. So what that means is there's more handle mass, there's more weight towards the handle, and your kick point, your pivot point is closer to your handle. Therefore, there's not as much plow through on the top of the paddle. So the higher the swing weight, typically the heavier the paddle head is, the head heavy it is, and you get a much more stable, larger sweet spot with paddles that have a head heavy leaning, but they typically put elbow pressure, and you're a little bit slower in fast hands exchange at the net. You really want a light swing weight if you really want to be fast at the net and be able to get over the ball and move the paddle around. So right off the bat, this one feels very maneuverable. The swing weight will probably go up a little bit because the first batch of these had a 4.5-inch circumference handle. So the more mass you put in the handle, the lower the swing weight's going to be, right? So there's compensations you have to make. If the new ones are only 4.25-inch handle, so you should be a little bit more towards it, probably 106, probably to 108 in the swing weight, just a very marginal difference. But one of the things I like about doing this with the weight is the fact that you can then manipulate it how you want, right? These paddles are coming in stock 7.8 to 8.1 ounces, right? So they're coming in on the lower end of the weight chart. Well, that makes it very easy for you to add lead tape where you need to get the swing weight up. But let's talk about the specs on this, and then we'll get into the performance of it. We'll talk a little bit about the lead taping at the end. So this is 16.3 by 7.7. Now remember, it tapers a little bit, so it's 7.5 down here, 7.7 up here. This body shape just makes the sweet spots pretty big. It's got a twist weight of 5.7, which is very decent for an edgeless paddle to have a twist weight of that high, but it's not high like the Ruby is in the 6s, the Black Diamond is in the 6s, has a little bit better sweet spot because they've got a little bit higher swing weight. So there's a little bit more mass around the head that gives it more plow through, gives it more stability, which typically widens the sweet spot. And it's still got the 5.5-inch handle, so you definitely can do the 2E on here very comfortably, getting your finger on the face here. And I always like the bevels on their handles. The bevels are really pronounced on this, so this is a really good feeling paddle out of the gate. But knowing that with a low swing weight of 106, you really, when you're hitting out here on the edge, you're going to feel it. Now, this paddle in general, you can hit all the way out to the edge. So to say it has a smaller sweet spot, it has a smaller feel spot, right? When you hit out here on the edge, it dies because it has a low swing weight, and there's no mass out here that's supporting the paddle. It's only the paddle itself supporting those off-center shots. When you have an edge guard, you have another piece of material out here that helps stabilize the paddle on the outside of where you're hitting it. Well, you can hit all the way out to the outside. So when you hit on the outside of this paddle, you feel it, right? So you'll feel it. It's a little bit jarring in your hand. Not quite unpleasant, but it's a vibration that you know you're missing the sweet spot on it. But let's talk about what this paddle face is. Now, this paddle face is a little bit different, right? So most of the paddles out there now are carbon faced. You know, they got this carbon peel ply. Carbon fiber is a stiff material. Well, this is made from a pre-preg unidirectional fiberglass layer, and they put these at different angles in the texture and to apply on top of this, and then they use a peel ply on top of the raw fiberglass infused with epoxy. Fiberglass is a little bit more soft, so it has a little bit more rebound effect. Where this is going to manifest in this paddle is the pop. So we talked about power and pop. Power is when you're driving shots and you're hitting full swings through them. Pop is where you're doing half volleys or fast hands exchanges at the net, right? And this is going to be graded against the other paddles in the SixZero lineup. on this performance, because this is the two things that I think sets this paddle above. And we'll talk about lead tape at the end, how you can make this play just like your double black diamond. Because this has more pop than the others in the SixZero line, you're going to like the fast hands exchange with it. Now, because it has a low swing weight, the off-center shots, right, you got to be careful how light you hold the paddle. So that's the other difference you see with a low swing weight paddle. When you hold it softly, the paddle is moving a little bit easier in your hands. When you hold a heavier paddle softly, there's more mass here. So it's harder for the ball to turn the paddle in your hand. Hence the twist weight and the swing weight kind of go hand in hand together. As far as the SixZero lineup, this guy here has the lowest swing weight out of all of them, right? But it has the most spin. So it's in the high 2200s of spin. So this is a top spinning paddle in the market, not only out of the SixZero line. This is in the 98th percentile. There's only a few paddles on there, and thank you, John Q, for a lot of these statistics and some of the graphs that I'm using here. I love the visuals, and I just want to give a shout out to my boy over there. You can check out his channel. This paddle starts shaving the ball really quickly. Like I noticed really quickly, the material feels rougher, but man, what I noticed a difference is the pop at the kitchen, right? Being able to win some fast hands exchange and be able to move the ball wherever I want it. So you still got all the control, except way out here on the end, you got to be careful there. But with the high spin rate, man, I found that on my first few drives, I was dumping them into the net, because it was grabbing the ball so hard that it was biting so quickly. So I had to actually adjust my swing to give more upward on it so it would make it over the net, and then sometimes this thing would just dive. It would dive at the 7-foot line like it was its job. So out of the power, this would also be right in line with the power of the double black diamond. So based on the charts, this is about the same power as the double black diamond without any modification. Even though it has a lower swing weight, maybe a slightly smaller sweet spot, this paddle is just as powerful as the double black diamond. But I'm going to tell you how to make that change a little bit later to make it more powerful. Okay, so let's get to the performance. That's what you guys care about the most. So first off, let's talk about the drives and serve returns. Take a look at this video.
Well, first off, I wanted to see how this compares, and right off the bat, I could tell that this has more spin than the double black diamond. And the power felt pretty similar. Like, they felt really close. The independent testers have shown that they're near identical when it comes to the power, which is a full swing, full returns, full drives. That would be a considered power. So it's basically the same as the double black diamond. But what I could tell extremely different was the spin. This thing definitely has a lot more spin than the double black diamond. And then the third thing I was impressed with was the pop. So this has more pop than the double black diamond. So this is really truly an edgeless paddle that has better performance in several categories than its edged counterpart. I'll say that when you hit out on the edge, like that miss right there, I hit on the very edge of the paddle, and it is still edgeless. You can hit the ball out there, but it's going to be a jarring feedback and not go as far. It is still an edgeless paddle, so you can hit all the way out to the edge, which I did very often, but you're going to get negative feedback and not much performance.
Okay, I couldn't have said it better myself. Oh wait, I did. Anyway, all right, now let's look at the next step up, right? So that was the serves and the serve returns. Let's take a look at third shot drops. Does this paddle have the touch?
Let's take a peek at these drop shots with this, where I'm just really kind of getting used to third shots. This is the first game playing with it, and so I'm just kind of dialing it in, seeing how it performs. As I started getting a little bit more comfortable with it, the drops got a little bit tighter and tighter, and I was able to generate some offense off of them and really get up to the kitchen line, able to hit really precise shots. Really want to be dropping it right at that kitchen line if possible, not really in front of that, because you don't want it bouncing up waist high for the person to destroy you on the upper bounce. Like that, I got Jamie killed. See how that's better. But no, I bounced a little bit short right up to David's hip pocket, and he put it away.
I'm going to have to call that Midas touch. You know, being that the first game and second game, I was able to dial this in very quickly. Now, let's look at punch volleys, quick hand exchanges, defense. How's this paddle do there?
Can tell where this paddle shines, and that's really in the fast hands exchange. It has more pop than all but the black diamond itself. The paddle is really responsive at the net. I found myself able to redirect and use their offense against them and just let the ball rebound off the paddle and really get some performance out of it. So I was able to just put pressure and redirect it at their feet when I used their punch, like a good punch volley, using their momentum against them. And I really enjoyed this paddle in this area. I thought it was above average in its performance, and with the spin, you can trust it to do just about anything at the net. And you can see I was always able to get my paddle up, and that makes a big difference when you are able to get the head speed around. That one I bit off a little bit too much there. The performance of this guy, I gave it an A+ here. Like this is what sets this paddle apart. I loved playing this paddle. It really makes me want to play it. I added a little bit of lead tape to it to give it even a little bit more stability on the sides, but in very small amount. And I really enjoyed being able to just have a little bit more offense in my game, but have a paddle that's controllable.
What I like with some of those shots, like I was able to redirect it right back at people's feet. So like Dave hit some drives at me, I was able to redirect it right at his feet. Amazing to me with the pop on this, how I can redirect and turn their offense into my offense. So really great job there. Now, let's look at the kitchen. Let's see how we do in dinking.
Now here at the kitchen, I think this is where this paddle accelerates the game. And really highlights what it does very well. It's very springy, so it's got more pop than the double black diamond, a little bit less pop than the regular black diamond, but with the spin addition and this pop, I think this becomes a very good offensive paddle that doesn't sacrifice any kind of control. Now, obviously, we talked a little bit about the edge of the paddle, meaning that you hit out on the edge, you're going to have some negative feedback out of the paddle, like you're going to feel some vibration there, and but the precision is still there. You see, like that shot I hit on David there, I hit him up in the shoulder and felt myself able to get to the kitchen line whenever I needed to and be able to put pressure on these guys. Kept hitting it right at their feet pretty consistently.
That's butter, baby. I love the kitchen. I love me some eating in the kitchen, and this paddle really, really performed well in the kitchen. So overall, man, I love this paddle. This is my favorite SixZero to play. Now let me tell you how I'm going to be modifying it to play it for future games. So I found that for me, I really want just a little bit more head heavy on this because I don't really need that much more speed help at the kitchen line. My hands are plenty fast. I'm pretty strong, but I'm not going to put a ton of weight. Okay, so I'm not going to put, a half a gram up here and move the kick point way over here and make this thing head heavy. What I want to do is I want to stabilize the end of this paddle just to give me a little bit more stability, just a scotch more a touch more swing weight, without me sacrificing all the speed that I gain here. So I'm just going to be putting 4 little love dots. I'll be putting a little dot here, 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 and here. And I'll tell you the weight difference here in a second. So for me, I'm going to try and experiment with my lead tape positioning. I'm putting 2 strips here, and then 1 strip here in each corner and 1 little strip here. So I changed this paddle from an 825. So this paddle is around 825 with my overwrap on it. I'm changing this to about an 845, so I'm putting a 0.2 ounce lead tape treatment on here to give it a little bit more head heavy, a little bit more stability. This should give it more power, and it does slow me down just a little bit at the net, but it doesn't feel too intrusive. If it does, I'll take off these 3 top strips, and then that will even increase my hand speed faster by lowering the swing weight again. Right? The swing weight would be lower based on the new weighting that I have on here. So I would say from the feeling on this would probably be a swing weight around 110. So that's a 4-point difference. It is very similar to what the double black diamond is. The double black diamond swing weight, I believe, is 116. So I would put this closer to 110 to 112 potentially with this new setup. So I'll let you guys know in one of my follow-up reviews how this plays. I want to thank SixZero for sending us these paddles. Appreciate you, and thank you for all of you that are using our code. It helps us keep the lights on. It helps us bring you this great content review to help you make good purchases. But if you don't want to check out SixZero and you want to check out another brand, we got some new ones that we've been reviewing that are new to the industry. You can check them out here. It's okay. We don't review bad paddles. They're good.